Pretty good, John.
Yeah, like that, Ingrid?
Yes, everyone.
Well, you can't even here.
First thing I'd like to do is to approve minutes of a number of our meetings. Let's see, we're gonna do Monday, December 20th. We're gonna do Thursday, November 7th. We're gonna do Tuesday, December 10th. We're gonna do Tuesday, November 12th. And we're gonna do our organizational meeting of January 2nd.
Special meeting from.
And a special meeting from 12:30. Okay. I'm sure everybody was enlightened from all those minutes. I'll take a motion to accept. Grit. Second, Dick. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. No one opposed, carried. It's that time of year for our annual Development Commission meeting. Room up here, how many, Laurie? Just yourself or is Dean good?
You're not here to support me.
You're on your own, Lori?
I know. They're throwing me to the wolves. It's like copy, so everyone has a copy of that.
Yeah.
So once again, a super busy year for the Community Development Commission. Just, a couple of quick highlights. Obviously, the comprehensive plan is the most significant thing that we've been working on, and continue to work on. The Housing Committee didn't meet. We passed a lot of those responsibilities, went over to Adam DeSantis, with the Destination Management Plan. So we're just working closely with him. The Appearance Committee has been working closely with the village on village parks. Community Day is an ever-growing and more successful event each year. So that was the case once again this year. The participation from the Olympic Training Center doing food and a lot of organizations in the pavilion. The Arts Alliance got its first project off the ground, which was exciting. We facilitated the relationship between Hannah Williams and the Golden Arrow. So there are now 2 murals on the Golden Arrow. There will be 2 more, I believe, this spring, potentially on the lakeside. And then we've developed a scope of work for the building alongside the rail trail, what Greg's bike rental is. We had applied for some funding that we didn't get, so we're going to be seeking some other funding to try and get that mural completed this spring. LEED certification has been applied. It's been submitted to the Green Building Council and they're reviewing it. The Dark Skies Committee, still a quite passionate committee amongst us, they've drafted some proposed modifications to land use, which will be part of the Land Use Code Committee going forward. Child Care Committee, which you're going to hear more from later this evening. But in terms of priorities for this year, our top priority is to finish the comp plan. And then there's 9 sections to that plan, so there'll be subcommittees from the public that will give input to the completion of those 9 sections. And then 2 sections of that plan that'll have particular focus are going to be housing and recreational opportunities. And by that, it's going to be bike paths and walkways as well as lake access, particularly access to lake paths. And then we'll continue to work on the other commissions, on the other committees in furtherance of that goal. So again, we're going to do the 9 key informant groups to complete the comprehensive plan. My understanding is that goal is end of this quarter. We're going to work closely with Adam on working.
Sorry, does anyone have a gold van
Solid gold.
parked like out to the side here?
No.
Nobody? Okay.
Can't get out.
And they're right on her bumper.
Give
Give it a little push. 5-mile-an-hour buffers were created for a reason. So we're going to work closely with Adam and continue on the plans for housing and economic development. And then there is a committee of interested citizens that's begun to meet on improving recreational opportunities for the community. on things like bike paths, sidewalks, and to preserve the health and ecology of the lakes and waterways. We're working toward a goal of establishing community childcare program, which again, you're gonna hear a little bit about. The LEED certification, further improvement on parks. I think that this year we're gonna move significantly toward some work in Teddy Bear Park. Get more feedback on the draft lighting ordinance. And then establish a strategic plan for creating public art. The challenge for public art right now is all about money. And then working in support of, continue to grow Community Day and then working in support of the DRI should that funding materialize. Two things that we need action from, you're obviously welcome to comment on all that stuff that I just kind of raced through. We had 3 terms that expired at the end of the year and we're looking to request reappointment for those. And that's Dean Dietrich, Georgia Jones, and Mike Butler. As well as the assignment of a liaison to the Development Commission from the town. And then we are currently working with Rotary to have a member of the Rotary Club join us. As well as potentially one of their the students that participates in, and I forget what that group is called.
Didn't we reinstate? Dean, we'd never let Dean go.
No, he's not,
His term's expired.
his term only expired.
Right, Mike Butler, I can remember these names.
Yes, but they're 3-year terms.
Okay, you mean it's been 3 years since we've.
It probably has, we've lost a little bit of track in all honesty, so we're instituting a new system that's gonna help us keep better track. But these 3 we're sure of, it's some others that we weren't so sure of, but.
I can't think of it.
I can't think of it either, but anyways, they have a program with students in the high school and we have asked them also to consider having one of those students sit in on the Community Development Commission meetings. Preferably a sophomore or a junior who could then spend a little time with it. And then we would have a year then to introduce another student to it and bring them through it so that they can get some background and not have to spend the entire semester, the entire year learning the process. So that's where we're at.
It's nice to see new names in the lineup here.
Are there any names? Yeah,
Well,
Tim
I-
Koenig, John Wingler,
I mean, Chase, isn't Chase new?
Chase.
Germano,
Oh, yeah, he's working on the
comp plan.
comp plan stuff, yeah.
Adam Wild, he'd be new.
Yeah.
But
That's just those.
those are
committees.
just something.
Yeah, but still, they're new volunteers.
Yeah, and the Dark Skies Committee has a lot of new people on it too, who haven't been with us previously, as well as this new committee that Katie has formed for the recreational opportunities, so.
Lori, I'm on number 9, status of commissioners, and it says see other term, you, Val, Don. What, we need to change those, like, why are you asking us to act on those?
I'm documenting that that's when they expire, so nobody forgets.
So next year you'll see that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Cause that's what happened, we didn't have, nobody was keeping a record of it.
Okay.
So that's how we're gonna keep a record, we're just gonna put that onto here, and Adam is gonna replace Catherine Erickson as the Roost liaison. So the town liaison has been Emily, so speak for her and re-up her without.
I would have to catch on a good day.
Lori, where's the artist from that did the murals?
Cleansings. We put out a call for local artists. Nobody's recording me, right?
I don't know.
The murals are amazing. We didn't get any that we could accept. Yeah, we didn't get any that we could accept, so.
The only thing that bothers me is they changed the electrical plate on the first mural.
Cause they took a light down.
Right,
Yeah.
it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
I was gonna call her and say, can you come touch that up?
Oh, they replaced it after she painted it.
Yes.
Well, she'll be back in the spring,
Okay.
so we can definitely. There's conversation about having her do more. We'd rather have an artist closer to home,
Sure,
but
you can't, yeah.
yeah,
She
she was
does a good
willing to
job.
do it. She was willing to do it for the price we were offering, so
Good.
that was, those 2 things came together and we were like, let's go.
I love walking by it, it's just
Yeah.
like when you go to another
Yeah.
community, much like you, the whole intent of it is
Yeah.
seeing something in different cities, and
Yeah.
now we have something like that, and it's.
Yeah,
just
and
the
it'd be
beginning.
cool, I mean, and it's a very specific style, so
Mhm.
even if she did something else, it wouldn't necessarily be in that style. But the one that we're hoping to be able to do along the rail trail, Nick Rogers has agreed to do it,
Oh,
we just have to
fantastic.
fund it, so
Yes.
that's the trick. So, you know, we've had conversations about LEAF grants. Obviously, we answer to the town of Village, so we can't apply for a LEAF grant. We applied for NEA funding and we didn't get it. So, we are kind of stalled on being able to move forward with projects because we just don't have any.
When you apply to, you use the umbrella of the art center, what 501c3 are? You don't think you could do that again for the mural?
We did it for the mural on the bike path, we did it. And I have Haley looking at whether or not there are grants available for art on recreational trails. It seems like there should be, but we just keep.
I think we have a source sitting right behind you that would like to.
Yeah.
Statewide community re-grants might be a possibility.
Community what grants?
Statewide community re-grants. I'm the coordinator for that. I could follow up with you after, you know, during the week and
Yeah, that's correct.
talk with you about it. They're up to $5,000. The town can apply. Town's been a fiscal sponsor for our grants the last 3 years, and that doesn't affect the town applying directly, so.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thanks.
Hey Fred, can we be a fiscal sponsor for someone and have? okay.
Yes,
Cause we were asked again to be. a
Yep.
fiscal sponsor.
there's no real limit on, you can apply for up to 5,000 for your own project and still be a fiscal sponsor for multiple there's no real limit on it. I recommend like three tops, but.
Okay, great.
Good.
Yeah, any little bit helps, so, yeah, so I just need to, see if you guys are willing to re-up these 3 people who are apparently delayed.
I'll certainly make the motion to reinstate.
Dean
Second.
Dietrich, Georgia Jones, Mike Butler.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, carried with thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Appreciate it. Sure.
Okay, next on the agenda under old business, I'm pleased to introduce our new park district manager, Jeremy Freeman. He's gonna talk to us and see what we think about Craigwood and some new rates.
Oh, thank you, Doug, I appreciate it. So had some discussions with Rick earlier. Kathy provided some information on rates from this last season. There were some discussion previously on some increases. And in some cases, what I'd like to bring forward here is some increase in some, but actually a decrease in others. So looking at some of the area golf courses and trying to maintain some alignment with them. I would propose that the membership rate is increased to $249 per member for the season for 25. For the out of season 18 hole rate going to $35.
From what?
Yeah, we have one of these strong. Refresh our memory.
Yeah, sorry.
Wait, what phone?
Yeah, sorry, which phone? I have to.
Yeah, just for clarity, we've already passed the increase in.
Of the 240.
speed, The 240.
The 240.
Yeah.
The.
Birthday, I'll $10.
The 5 and 10.
No, yeah, we're all 10, right?
Okay, so the 18 hole off season was 25, they're going to 35.
Okay.
The 9 hole rate to be $20. And let's see what it was. See what I'm doing. Terminology on here is a little mixed, so I'm trying to, but I don't see preseason 9 hole rate. Okay, so I'd go 20 for that.
Okay.
And the in-season rate would go from, for prime time, from 55 to 65. And the in-season 9 hole rate would be 35. And I'd propose for the after 3 p.m. rate. To use the same out of season rate, so
Drops.
so 35 for 18 and 20 for 9. And I would keep the golf cart rate the same. It was 20 for 18 and 10 for 9.
Unless they're electric, then we'll have to.
Do we have?
Then you would get my support for the increases. Don't worry, we'll get our.
There are
Me too,
other,
Emily, one for Emily, one for me, sorry.
and there are
Can't you
other
get
rates listed here, high school students and so on. I would not propose any changes to those. I would keep them the same 20.
It's $75, right? The junior rate.
That's what it was in 24.
Jeremy's looking at it.
$10
Oh, for greens.
for greens.
Okay.
And this here is $75 for membership.
Okay.
For high school members, junior membership is the 18 to 21-year-old is $199.
Okay, so there's two breakdowns.
There's
right?
two,
Okay.
yeah. There's a 15 to 17 for 75, and 18 to 21 for $199.
And you said keep those the same.
For the motion? Emily, second? Second by Rick. Anything further? I'll just mention, thanks for jumping right on it. That helps everybody gearing up for
Yes.
summer and,
And what, are we gonna make these effective immediately?
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Golf course is closed right now.
Yes, yes, we have ropes around it.
So, you know.
So Kathy, I'll get with you,
I'm talking about the membership.
tomorrow or
Okay.
Thursday
People do
to get these in
purchase.
the books, to get into
prior.
the POSs and so on.
Perfect.
Thank you, I got you,
Thank you.
Kathy, thank you for the POS
information.
information.
Change for memberships, Adrian's been charging $249 since December.
I know, but now we're just putting those in.
No, it was yours then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Reluctantly,
No one opposed.
only because Jeremy proposed it, and I want to support him.
Oh, you're not in favor?
I said reluctantly, I'm voting in favor.
He's in favor, we're good.
Okay.
Let's move on.
All right.
We got a reluctant, but we got.
Did Abby end up coming back or no?
No, she.
Okay. So, Rick, why don't you take this? I know he contacted you first.
Yes.
That's the letter.
Yes.
So Abby Light, who's a Lake Placid High School senior for her capstone project, is doing a 5K race. And it's to raise money for awareness for Alzheimer's, specifically for Eldenwood Memory Unit. She's proposing a date of Saturday, April 5th. And it's around the lake, so 2.7 mile run. She's looking for the support of the town. We discussed this at a previous meeting, but never voted on it, so use of the road, sidewalk, and assistance from the park district with miscellaneous accessories such as barrier signs, finish line. So, she is getting liability coverage through USA Track and Field. And we'll pass that on to Lori when she gets it, so.
And we'll pass it on to Jeremy.
We'll pass it on to
You can
Jim.
pass that to me anytime, because I don't know if we have any barricades in our.
Should I give you that now?
Sure. But we'll make it happen.
You do, we use them.
Awesome, great. So working through that inventory piece.
You'll receive them.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to new business.
Yeah. Do you move? Yeah, we should accept that.
Oh, I guess. I'll take a motion.
Yeah,
Rick, you wanna?
Rick, second, Dick, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, passed.
If you want me to handle the next ones, because I know.
I do.
But, and I think I have them on my computer too. So there was a little bit of confusion. I think there was a lot of confusion about this. There was just a lot of supporting documentation. So to go back on this agenda item, it's review and zoning board term renewals. So that's like the document that came today from Adrian at the.
Yeah.
At 3:30.
I thought it was one document that was replaced, but there was two,
It was Yes.
Three.
So if that, there's three of them, well, we only need two, there's a missing name on one, or any correct
There's
name on.
three on review.
Okay, so if you're looking at supporting documentation, the first action is the December 30th letter from Darcy about the renewals. So it's Bob Rafferty, Rick Thompson, Chip Bissell, for those terms, a 3, a 4, and a 5. And then zoning board of appeals is Jonathan Gravout for a 5-year term, so we're just re-upping their term. I think that should be one
Motion, let's do it. I'll make a motion to accept as presented. Second, Dick. Further discussion, other than thanks for their serving?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. No one opposed, that's carried.
So I'm gonna jump down the agenda then to ZBA vacancy, because this is also tied together, so then there's an open spot on the ZBA. And that's one of the letters from Darcy dated January 8th. And maybe there's two versions of the same letter I'm looking at. But it's fine, it has the right information in it.
Yeah.
But so what it's saying is that they interviewed 4 people applied for the 3-year term expiring in 2027. To finish out Sean Donovan's term, their recommendation is Tom Mason. So they're looking for our nomination and appointment of Tom Mason to the 3-year term for the ZBA.
All right, so I'm accepting a motion for Tom Mason. So moved by Rick, second by Jason. Further discussion. All in favor? Aye. And one's opposed, that carries. Milano, Greg?
Before I get too close. My face is falling apart because I'm getting this skin cancer treatment. But I don't have it, but it's like preventing it, so it's about to fall off.
Yes.
Yeah,
You'll find it every-
It happens during the meeting.
Top of the radar.
Somebody just push it back.
Does it burn pretty good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me.
You look pretty normal.
Except for the hair.
Well, maybe.
Weird if it does.
Somebody asked me, do we have any documents for this Ironman? I said, oh, we'll get you in person.
That's right. And you know, we all got the letter that, well, I'll let you go, not gonna steal your thunder, everything's the same.
Yeah, everything, course wouldn't change, swim course, bike course, run course would be the same as last year, so. Just looking for approval, but before we go into that, I wanna offer up the Lake Placid Marathon assistance for that 5K in April. If they need.
Oh, that's,
If you need barricade, if you need cones, so like, cause they got a ton of stuff.
that's great.
Yeah, so I figured that'd be, yeah, appreciate that. And we're supporting, okay. So Ironman, yes, same courses as last year, which seem to be very popular and, I think we've got it figured out.
You've been pretty much around the room, I mean, everybody's on board, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody, I haven't heard from Wilmington, but, Jay is fine.
Yeah.
Lake Placid Village is fine and, Keene is in, so.
Good.
Kind of Wilmington's the ones to stick.
Greg, remember, look, I think I remember this right, there was a shortfall on the run portion last year. And then remember there was discussion of going all the way out, or was that biking, all the way out Adirondack Country Road and back?
you were like 2 miles short, but you picked it up in Black Brook.
We picked it up in Jay.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's that same route,
Yeah,
okay.
so the same route is we go over the covered bridge in Jay and then go out,
Stickney,
Yeah. Stickney Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that worked out perfectly.
Okay.
And it's iconic, the beauty shot from
Yeah.
athletes coming through the covered bridge is like, no, we don't do that anywhere else in our portfolio, so it's pretty cool.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
And numbers are good, like our, I think we're 80% sold as of now. So I think things are moving forward, moving ahead, and MJ's managing the expectation and numbers.
Good.
What's your max for,
Registration.
for registration, not actual, but
Right.
what's your,
Um,
what number are you looking at?
The number I recall that MJ was talking to,
We didn't put a number
oh
on
no,
we
I
put a
thought-
number on the, we
remember
put a number on
2500.
the actual.
The actual encore.
The ones going, we put a number on the ones going in the water. Right. And we relied upon you and your organization to do the math,
Mhm.
historically do the math. And do you have any idea what that number is?
I think it's at pretty close to 2,000, because I think 2,500 was our cap. And then you figure every year there's a 20% no-show rate.
Right, that's what I mean, yeah, because we didn't know,
Historically.
our, our committee didn't know what, right?
And I can't.
We wanted you to work
guarantee it.
backwards to see, you do what you've gotta do, but this is what we'd like to see.
Little by little, Greg, you and Jeremy will get to work together, because there will be peripheral things that we can help with.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
For sure.
Good. With that being said, I'll take a motion to accept the race route for Ironman. What year is this, 27?
26.
26.
Not the 21st, huh?
No, no.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept it for the 26th.
All right,
Yeah.
second?
Second.
Second by Rick, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Not even
Were you an
reluctant,
aye? Yeah. Okay.
not even reluctant.
No, oh, no, that's because you can't.
Last year, if you remember, you were sleeping on the couch,
Was I? No, that was in the, so closer to the summertime.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets more tired in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot more going on, yeah.
Listen, good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, he said he'd be right there, and he was.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, who do I turn this next one over to? You, Emily, or,
I'll let Dick do Boy Scouts and I'll do Saranac Lake Ski Club.
okay,
No, we did the Boy Scouts.
No,
No.
we didn't vote on it.
Okay. Yeah, okay, they're looking, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a long time ago we did this. They're looking for a program, what was the initial one? Maybe we may have to do it.
So I'll.
I know the second part, I know the second part. I forgot.
He just had a birthday recently.
Yeah, yeah, I know, really.
here, you want this?
Which one's
I
that?
love bailing people out, paper.
Yeah, I know.
Boy-
I know we did, there's no way to. Oh, no,
They're
that's that,
asking-
that's, no, that's not the one. That's
Is it on the
that's-
second page?
Oh.
page is part page.
Okay.
It's the Boy Scout Troop 10
No,
ski
it's not
base trip.
All right,
So thank you.
Try. You do the first part. I forgot the first
In
part.
the summer 25, they have a unique opportunity to participate in scouting. For now, the Sea Base High Adventure Marine Educational Program. And if the board has seen this and it's in supporting documentation, it's very well thought out. The application is fully complete. They're asking for 5,000, the total project cost is 30,000, but they have, if I can quickly get to their budget, I think they have around 15,000. They're a little bit more than halfway there, if I'm remembering right. So, they're making their way through. And they even provided us like with their checking account information of how much is in there. Sorry, they have 10,000 right now. So they're 1/3 of the way there. We'll get them halfway there, and I'm confident that they'll be able to continue fundraising to get to this.
Yeah, there was.
And it's something they do every year.
Yeah, it was a very good application and everything, and kind of a no-brainer on this.
Emily, before you go into the ski club one, maybe for the people that are sitting here, give just a brief thing on how we use this cannabis tax money. You know, the couple different avenues or whatever, or am I putting you on the spot too much?
Well, I think Rick wrote the policy.
Oh, well then.
But there is,
It's a long time ago, Jack.
This is.
He's about 9 months ago.
Hey, he's approaching us too, so, you know.
so all cannabis taxation, sales taxation funds go into a special account set up by our budget officer. Don't ask me the name of the account, not the B fund, that's all I know. And they are held in a separate account and they are to be used for the purposes of the policy that we wrote or that Rick wrote about.
Held.
Or Chad held.
Yeah.
Chad
And
does everything for Emily anyway, so I just want to interrupt.
I know.
so the goal, if I'm remembering right, of like the order of priorities, the first priority is children. And basically getting children involved in things outside of school. So with the idea being like, if you're, even though adult cannabis use, you have to be 21. There's this perception and for better or for worse, that it's somehow affecting children. And so if you give children other things to do, then they won't go when they're 21 to the marijuana store, a cannabis store. So most of the things that we've supported so far somehow directly relate to like activities for children outside of school. So that they have other activities to turn to. And we like including a pollinator garden, inline skating at the Civic Center in Saranac Lake. I'm very excited. There's 2 more somewhere out there. Anyways,
That's the one.
and then so community engagement was, so children, community engagement. and seniors were the focus is the focus of the funds with the $5,000, Lake Placid Community Ski. Which they actually just emailed me about some stuff about Bill Koch, we're helping them send
Yeah.
some skiers to the Bill Koch Invitational in Maine somewhere. So just all these opportunities for kids, that might not have had it otherwise, and in fact, if it's a small grant, it's $5,000. So it's just a little bit to get an organization, project funded. So that's the Boy Scout one, I don't know if you have more questions about, I mean, you read it.
There is another component, which is the public safety and law enforcement.
Yes,
aspect.
So those are the 4 pillars, the seniors do make it in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And in the first initial year, we've taken in $90,000 to be able to dole out to good causes, so we were very responsible with what to do with that money. So I'm very proud of the board for coming up with that idea.
The second one, I came in a second email, so let's see if I can get to it.
Yeah, I can barely out.
Oh, you think you can, you just handed.
Well, because I
handed it back.
I handed them the ski one.
Oh, okay. So the second one came in, and I would say that Dick and Haley and I, spent a lot of time talking with so it originally came from Friends of Mount Pisgah, and then after conversations with who submitted the application, it was more of a ask of the Saranac Lake Ski Club and not Friends of Mount Pisgah, but Saranac Lake Ski Club lives under Friends of Mount Pisgah. So we asked them to rework this application at least 3 times.
Yes.
And they were very responsive, active listeners, did what we asked them to do. And so I think they have a very solid application now. And it was a good interaction in that I learned a lot more about the Saranac Ski Club and what they offer. And in the conversation, they were telling me how they market it, and they marketed it to, they sent flyers to Petrova, to St. Bernard's. And I said, well, what about Lake Placid and St. Agnes? And they were like, oh, sure, we can do that. And so, yeah, so that was like a nice conversation to have with them. They were very happy to do that. I think the lessons are $115 for the season, and it's 2 days a week for like 5 or 6 weeks. So I mean, that's a steal, for sort of ski lessons.
You wanna do anything like we talked about?
If you wanna bump it up to 5, but they only asked for 4,500.
They asked for, I'll just interject in one thing, when I talked yesterday. In their application, they asked for $300 for marketing materials, and they marketed it to basically the Saranac Lake area, the schools in Saranac Lake. And as Emily said, why not promote it over here, at the other side of North Elba? And they had put in their application, the reworked application, that if funds were available, they would. They said, great idea, but then you read their application, it says if funds available. And our idea is to, we do up to $5,000 grants, they're asking 4,500. We would like to bump it up to 5,000, so that they'll have plenty of money for the marketing material and put it in the schools over here.
Get the word out.
And once they get their numbers up, then they won't, in theory, they won't need assistance from us anymore because their revenue is coming in from the ski lessons to cover the cost of their instructors and insurance. They say, yeah, they did start ski lessons today, so if it does get to Lake Placid School, they'll be starting a week or 2 late, but it's still like a good deal. Maybe they'll just prorate the price.
Yeah.
But they also needed this money to hire more instructors in order to offer more lessons to kids.
Right, and they do, obviously, they have the materials not geared towards Saranac Lake, all they gotta do is print more, or maybe they've got more, let her print more and they can get it over here, so.
I know it's not on the follow-up report, but is it possible to get a demographic?
We asked for a demographic, and I don't remember that number, but we did ask, because that was when we discussed this, someone asked us how many of the students were in North Elba, and they really did give us that answer, and I wanna say it was 60%.
Really?
But we can ask them again at the end of the season.
Sure.
What their North Elba.
Oh, sure, just the support.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we did leaf grants and everything, anything involved with Pisgah,
Oh, yeah.
real, I mean, we received those numbers a couple of years ago, and there's a good number, not only in North Elba, but this side of North Elba, in other words, the Lake Placid people over there too, and other places too.
Absolutely.
So you're gonna make a motion, I take it.
I make a motion that we accept we approve their grant application, and seeing they asked for 4,500, And with the stipulation that we bump it an extra 500. And with the stipulation that they use that extra 500 for marketing material to be sent over as soon as possible to the schools in Lake Placid area.
Do I have a second? Jason, anything further? All in favor? Aye. Carries unanimously. And we did the scouts, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let's see, I think you're probably on next.
I'm on again and now I don't, I meant to print this one, and you don't have this one. Alright, so I'll try to wing it, but
So
so.
that's a basic message.
Yeah, so in evaluating the community development director position for the 2025, this coming year, 2025. Jackie Kelly and I met with the community development, well, Jackie Kelly and I met first to talk about what the town and village goals would be for that position. We came up with a whole list of things that really focused around, the biggest focus is we have a new comp plan coming out. And so making sure that the objectives of that comp plan are moving forward, making sure that the development commission is structured and aligned with the new comp plan, because the old development, the existing development commission is in line with the old comp plan. So there's all these changes that are happening with the new comp plan that will directly affect the position of community development director. And so the comp plan was a big focus, land use code was a big focus, which kind of go hand in hand. Park district was a big focus because of the visioning plan and that's gonna need funding. There's just a lot of new, bigger projects that are coming into the realm of that position. It's becoming a much more robust position, which is great because that's what we wanted to grow it into. And in light of, and then we reviewed that document with the person in that position and everyone was in agreement. And in light of all those additional responsibilities in growing the position, I am recommending a $3,500 annual raise to that position.
And that's in, I know you did the homework, but that's in comparison to looking at other,
It's in line with
in line with
other,
towns
other
and
rural
communities.
Yeah,
Okay.
So you're saying we were not in line with other rural communities and so.
we were
this-
lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a direct correlation, the more I and we spend, the more help we need to support those efforts. So it means more time with that office spending with Adam
Yeah,
through housing and economic development. That, the list is long. I did get a sneak peek at your list.
yeah, I just added it a little bit, but I
Yeah.
forgot to send it out again. And we did add things like having a bi-weekly check-in with Adam DeSantis and a village and town liaison, which most likely be Jackie and myself. So that every 2 weeks we're having a conversation, the four of us, to make sure we're kind of all on the same page and everyone knows what each other is doing in terms of economic development and community.
Huge component.
Yeah,
Communication.
so naturally, I am in full support of this. Just what, 3 years ago, we were envisioning this office being new.
Yeah.
And now we're already encompassing projects that are seeing it not just develop, but move forward at a rate that we're kind of catching up.
Yeah,
It's almost, you can't imagine not having the position.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, yeah, a third of our conversations are involved that office.
So I'll entertain a motion. Jason, second by Emily. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
So for clarity,
Unanimous?
that motion included the goals and
And
35.
yes,
And so I'll make sure that I get you the goal, so that they're part of it.
Is that what you sent us out?
Yeah, but then I changed a little bit.
Okay.
so.
She punched in chat and it changed.
You should do that. You take it up all yourself.
our next item is just an annual resolution that's adopted by the county. On each town supports it. It's just ordering the confinement of dogs to protect the deer herd. Dogs can't run loose in the winter and there's stipulations if they are caught, what the fines are and such. And every year we support that effort. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, it goes on forever, but that's the gist of it. We're trying to protect the deer herd. Can I have a motion to accept?
I was unaware they were an oppressed
Deer?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you've never seen,
The whole season.
you've never seen somebody's husky come home with blood all over
I have
their
not.
face? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
All right, Rick, second by Dick. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Carries, thank you.
You live in the village, so you're protected.
I'm part of the urban population here.
You're the. So you got
For
your.
tonight's
I just
meeting,
get sand.
sure, we're gonna listen to a presentation from the North Elba Lake Placid Child Care Committee and a potential request.
Yes, and thank you, and many committee members here, and I'm going to introduce them as we go along.
That sounds good.
If you don't mind, I know many of you are very familiar with what we're doing. Derek and Emily have been there since Jason came on later. I do know we have the press here. This is the first time it's coming up public, so if you don't mind, I'm just gonna see if I can keep it to 3 minutes background, all right?
Sure.
And then we'll know where we are and then from where we intend to go. This whole process started back in the spring of 2023 at your request. The town board went to the development commission and said, look, I think what drove it really at that time was two things. One is there was affordable income-based housing coming out online. And the other thing is you were looking at what to do with the horse show ground. And there was a thought that maybe we should put a daycare center there because everybody realized that daycare means you get a more stable workforce, you have a lower crime rate, you have fewer government subsidies, I mean, the quality of life is improved. So would you please do a gap analysis and see, do we need this? And is this idea work? And the child care committee then was, since Eric and Supervisor Doty and Councilwoman Politi asked, they felt guilty enough to be on the initial committee. And that initial committee consisted of them and Catherine Beamish. We brought her on board. She's an expert in community licensed daycare. Katie Brennan, who would be the representative from the village board, is also here. Tim Seymour is not here, but he's a school district superintendent, so we brought him on board. Joan Valentine, no one had more experience in family or group daycare than Joan did. And Haley is on every committee ex officio, so she was there for administrative support, and I had the honor of being the chair. And we did the gap analysis. We examined demographic data. We visited existing community providers in the area. We had interviews with the team of informants, ACAP, Adirondack Fund, other daycare providers. We relied heavily on existing literature, particularly a study done by the Essex County ACAP, the Essex County Community-Wide Assessment in 2024, which had a lot of data broken down by town. And we came to some conclusions from that. The good news is that we have some good existing programs in Lake Placid that other communities don't have, particularly the universal pre-K. It's not statewide, and we did that. Our Head Start program is fairly robust, and we have fully licensed and very good home license programs. Those programs we found seem to meet the needs of the 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds plus. The number of people that are enrolled in the 3-year-old program, about 75% of that age cohort. Same with the 4-year-olds, universal, people can get there. I mean, that works pretty well. We also found we had fairly robust after-school programs. And strangely enough, the parents aren't going to believe this, but daycare is more affordable in Lake Placid than in other communities. We are well below the national average. We're a little bit below the county average. We're doing a good job getting quality care to the people we get. The problem is that there are very limited slots for birth through 3. And, there are a few slots in the 2 family groups that are licensed and the 4 groups that are licensed. There are some slots available in Keene or Raybrook or Saranac Lake, but we don't have any community slots here. So knowing that there was a gap in the community slots versus the population, well, you can have a gap, but is that gap meaningful? If somebody wants to use daycare, is it needed? And so we turned to Roost, and Roost was very helpful. We shout out a thanks to them, Mary Jane Lawrence, I love the title, chief of staff over there, and their marketing group. And it's not a marketing analysis per se, but it gives us a pretty good understanding of what's going on. I mean, we're not marketers, but we did a pretty good analysis. And one part of that was a survey that was targeted to the proper demographic group, that is, people with child age, went through the school, went through the Roost, helped us get it through all the major employers. We had about 200 responses. So we targeted up 200 responses of people that had kids. That's about everybody it's a pretty substantial percentage anyway, of people in Lake Placid that have kids. And we found that, yes, there is. You know, a lot of those people reported that they can't get to work when they want to get to work. Some of them don't work because they can't get daycare. And there seems to be a need there for daycare. So we continued on then. So, all right, there's about probably, if you look at about, even if you say, okay, 50% of the kids can go to, say 50% of the slots are open for the group daycares around. There still is a gap, 40, 50 kids. And we decided that looking at how to expand, we decided that, you know, the best thing to do if we were going to expand a program, the target number would be 3 classrooms, 2 infant and 1 toddler. Now that breaks down based on the state regulations as to, you know, when you expand daycare, you do it incrementally, you do it by classroom. And each classroom can take so many kids and X number of teachers, but you gotta, when you do a classroom, you gotta do it incrementally. So that would be the increment that we determined would be something that would be a safe increment to go on. And that would be, would provide us information so that it could be expanded. And it's not too much of a risk if it doesn't work. So we said, our first report was that was a good way to do things. And then if we are only going to expand 2 or 3 classrooms, we don't want to build a new facility. Let's see if we can find an existing provider. Therefore, we keep some economy of scale. We don't have to build a new administration, a new kitchen, a new cloakroom, a new meeting room. You know, you just kind of keep the economy of scale down. The other thing is that we can find an existing provider. When we went out into the community, we found that parental trust was the key to success programs. So if you have a provider that's been going around for a while, that trust is right there. You don't have to build it. And finally, you know, it can be done in steps. I guess I already said that, steps to avoid overexpansion. Points off as I go along. So we went to the board and said, yeah, we recommend that we find an existing daycare provider, given all this information, and try to expand the program. And we thought our job was done. And that happened in May of 2024. And then the board said, well, why don't you go do it? And that set up the stage. And before I get too far, I promised the members of the committee that, because they don't trust me totally, that I would stop periodically. Does anybody want to add anything to that at this point? Are we okay?
You're doing a great job.
All right, no.
They know you so well.
Good choice.
So now, starting May, we started wandering around and asking daycare providers. And in the fall of 2024 is about a week after school started, we had a meeting with Kate Turner, who is the, what is the title?
Principal.
Of St. Agnes, and she said, well, I'll talk to the diocese, and she came back and said, yeah, we are interested. And at that point.
Was that before or after you went and searched other existing?
I'm gonna say concomitant.
Okay.
That's a good word. Good vocabulary word. At the same time, Jason.
I was gonna look it up.
Right now.
Never had that.
It just popped out.
Fill that for you.
It happened, it was, I don't know the exact time, we basically did it all at the same time. Sure. And we were ecstatic because St. Agnes has all the things we need. It is a program that's got the support. They had space that would be available that could expand into the classrooms that we're envisioning and perhaps beyond in the future. They already were home to a public pre-K4 program, so they had negotiated the secular kind of faith-based institution thing fairly well, and everybody's pretty familiar with that. And so we were ecstatic when they said yes. I will put out here that they did that at some risk to themselves, and that they had other plans for those rooms. And when doing this, you know, they want to make sure that their people are, it's a new program. It is it's a risk. And so you put your program at risk.
I would like to add though, the committee before I came aboard did explore other options, as I've seen and others, and could not find either someone willing or a viable option.
I think Emily met with, I'm gonna say the wrong word, I wanna call it
Tender
Mayor Tots. Tender care. I always call it Mayor Tots.
Yeah, I think the closest match and what we thought would be the best partner was Tender Care at that point, and it didn't pan out.
Yeah.
I think we had a few conversations with them. and-
Kids R Us has got some space issues. They were talking about the second floor. We did look at that. It was, second floor, third floor, one floor. It was a floor there.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at that. Keene is Keene. It's pretty far away.
Sure.
And then the other option was to build something new at the horse show ground.
Sure, it was just for transparency is that.
Yeah.
It wasn't just solely on St. Agnes initially, it was, you exhausted other options now.
And if you look at it, we're not gonna leave them out for future. Sure. For right now, our concern is gonna be St. Agnes, but we're setting up a process that may help those programs in the future. And I don't know, St. Agnes, if you wish to add anything about your decision, you're very much thank you to know what, going out on a limb a little bit.
Yes, no, I think you spoke really appropriately to it. Hi, I'm Katie Turner, for
Sorry.
those of you that I don't know. No, Dean and some other members of the committee approached us and, as he said, we spoke to, Father John and our education council and, we're eager to help, with the infant toddler care model if we could. So, we're hopeful that we're one step closer in the process to doing so.
Thank you. And at that point, we changed the makeup of the committee. We invited Kate, Turner and Angela Price is sitting back there. Andrew wants to wave. She's, I don't know, what's your title, Angela?
I'm an advancement director at the school.
She's the money person. She's the numbers person, I think. But we invited them to be part of the committee, which makes sense because we're now gonna move forward in a partnership with them. Catherine Beamish stayed on, Katie stayed on, Tim stayed on. Haley and I are still there. Emily bailed out. We wanted a left-handed pitcher, but we ended up with Jason instead. Everybody wants a left-handed pitcher as they go to the series.
Less brains, more personality.
Yeah. And so then the question is, I think we are somewhat.
She's smarter.
She's not.
Sorry, go ahead.
We are somewhat morally, I think, responsible for helping St. Agnes. They're going out in the line and we asked them to do it. So the question is how to do that. And we wanted then to develop a mechanism that would do two things. First of all, allow the community to raise funds. This is a town initiative now. It's no longer a diocese initiative. It's a town initiative. So we get the town-wide initiative to raise funds for two reasons. One would be to help the capital expenses, the startup expenses. And the other would be to maintain support for to keep tuition assistance going, year after year assistance.
Dude, I wanna pause you there when I ask all of you this question though. So, but the town aren't, like, when you say it's a town initiative, I don't disagree with that. You're right, like this came from us and it was Derek's, baby and we're happy to support it in this initial phase. But the town of North Elba is not a fundraiser.
No.
And so then who becomes the fundraiser?
And that's, Tim Seymour said, why don't we do what the thrift shop did? So if you think of the thrift shop, we are establishing in our operating principles is the next document I'm gonna go over, pretty much establishes the same thing that the thrift shop did. It's a group, an entity.
It's a 501c3.
But yeah, we're going to have, you're getting a little ahead of me,
Okay.
but it's an entity, not the town, not the village, but it's a partnership. The town is representation, so we're asking the town board, to put monetary support if you can, kind services, which would basically be Haley, if you can. If we're looking at the legality of other in-kind services. Your hands are tied to some degrees there. And sign off on grants. That would be the role of the town, but you would be on the board then that would disperse funds. Because you have town-wide influence over different groups. Lake Placid Central School District, the same thing, and the Development Commission, since it's gonna be an ad hoc committee, the Development Commission would be there also. If for that group to act, you need exactly what Emily says, you need fiscal support, you need a fiscal supporter, a fiscal sponsor is a better word for it. And you need to work through a 503C. I met last night with the Adirondack Foundation and we would need a fiscal supporter. At this point in time, those talks are still ongoing. St. Agnes could do it, would run as a fiscal supporter. And as you know, I was glad to hear they had that term in the previous meeting. Fiscal support doesn't mean a lot other than, there's no real exposure to you. Other than you are the legal entity, and since you're the legal entity, they can give tax. There's no exposure to you before. I don't want to get too far, talk about the people we talked about. There was some discussion whether you could be the fiscal supporter, and Lori Bellingham is looking into that. And again, I'm a little bit, we're looking into possibilities. The other thing you need is an administrator who's gonna administer the funds, because somebody's gotta keep track of all those donations coming in, you know. Somebody's gotta keep track of send the tax letters out. Someone's gotta write the dispersal checks. And the Adirondack Fund says, sure, we can do that, but we can't do it until you get a fiscal sponsor. So our group, if we get to go ahead, one of the first things we're gonna do, to answer your question, is get a fiscal sponsor. And we're, again, the ball is rolling on that. There's a number of any 503C could, I mean, we could go to any 503C and say, would you please, but I'm sorry, I always say it wrong, what is
Like
it?
tender tots. 501c.
501C3, I tell that to I say that downstairs all the time, tell me what it is, I don't speak numbers. A nonprofit, a licensed nonprofit. So you can get any licensed nonprofit, go to them and say, look, you're doing a really good thing, we have very little exposure to you, we're not asking you to spend out any money for administering. We're gonna do all that through the Adirondack, all we need is your signature on a piece of paper.
I'm still confused as to why the Adirondack Foundation can't be the fiscal sponsor.
They can't be a fiscal sponsor for themselves, you'll have to talk, I had a meeting with Lori yesterday, and she said, no, we don't do that. But they would talk to anybody who's willing to be a fiscal sponsor. In my mind, you guys would be the best one. So whether or not they can do that based on the Adirondack Charter is something that she's looking at now. So we may be getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. We will find one. We will find one. And then they can do the administration. So it was a very robust discussion yesterday. It can be done. We can move forward. And it was supposed to happen a week earlier, but it didn't, but so I wish I'd been a little more prepared than right now, but that's all I can tell you. I'm very confident that.
I think that the bigger hurdle you've already crossed, and that's who would take the money and make sure everyone got, everyone got.
That's what I mean.
And the foundation, if the foundation is willing to do that, which that's what they did for Every Fifth, and they do it for other organizations before they get their 501c3, usually it's the lead up to a 501c3, and it could still be the lead up to an independent 501c3. I don't know how St. Agnes feels about that, but like, you could have an independent 501c3 that would be able to fundraise and not be affiliated with the school and the diocese.
Yeah. And the other thing about that is we can set it up so the fiscal sponsor can be transferable. So we could do what we find somebody now, it's possible for the child care committee to become 501(c), maybe not have you guys, they become, and then they take it over.
So another.
Did you get it right?
Did I not?
I'm looking at Val back.
It's okay, we know.
We know what he means.
Yeah, and everybody laughed concomitant.
These minutes are gonna.
Happy to speak as fast as Emily.
Anyway, we understand the issue, we are going to start working on that issue, and I'm fairly confident we can do something.
To have administrative help though eases or makes
Yeah.
easier for us to be that fiscal sponsor to kick this project off.
And there are other ways to, fiscal sponsor is different from fiscal donor.
Right.
But fiscal sponsor is the legal entity that has to be a nonprofit.
Yeah, right.
But just, and hopefully this is appropriate, we wanna distance, we don't want it to go through, the committee decided not to go through St. Agnes, because eventually our initial sort of commitment is St. Agnes as the pilot, but then expand beyond that to other opportunities.
And I'm very reluctant to say anything because it happened yesterday. It was a conversation I had, and I speak as a spokesperson for the committee. And I cannot go any further than that, but you're right. One of the issues that we have is that we want this to be it is a community-centered goal, which is committed to St. Agnes in a couple of years. And so we need to develop a structure, and that structure will allow us in the future, once we get them up and running, to help other people too. So I'm hoping 10 and 20 years down the road that there's enough money in this fund and we can say, we can give other daycare, maybe even a home license provider some money. There's nothing to prevent us from giving up and saying, geez, if you provide a little better food for your kids, we'll give you some money for it. So we can, in 20 years' time, if we look down the road and it is successful, we can not only help create this program, but we can leverage it to make daycare better for every kid. And we wouldn't be limited to that, so a parent would have a choice, you know, and whatever, or I guess. Another thought entered my mind, but I said, it's a rabbit hole, don't go down there, so I didn't. But that committee, our group would not be fundraisers, again, we'd follow the model of the thrift shop and have a subcommittee of fundraisers. And while the media is here, we're gonna be looking for people to do that. So, you know, that's not in the not too distant future, so we're hoping. It is not a bad thing. One of the goals would be an endowment. And one of the things that Adirondack Fund and others look for, administrators look for, is a separation between the fundraising, the day-to-day operations, and the people who disperse the money. That kind of protects an endowment. They're two separate things. So if we're looking in the future, mainly getting an endowment, that's a good structure to start with now. It might be a little bit, I think it could be a little bit more cumbersome at the beginning, but if things go well, it'll be better at the end, and it can work now. I mean, I said was the Adirondack Fund, it was Lori Bellingham and Kate Ryan. Kate Ryan is a Birth Through 3 initiative. And it was a very promising conversation yesterday. And so that group would do it, and then we would have restrictions. And the restriction would be that any funds that are distributed must benefit infant toddler monies. They may only be distributed to a licensed daycare facility. They must consider the sustainability of existing providers, which basically is a St. Agnes kind of caveat. You know, we're starting you guys out, we gotta get you on the road. And must consider sustainability of the fund. That's an endowment, that's a nod toward endowment. We want a sustainable fund. We want to keep the money coming, we want to keep the flow going. And any revenues, then we'd also specify that any revenues could be used for startup funding, and the committee could decide 100% of this year goes to startup funding, which I imagine they'll do, or program funding to maintain and improve. And the reason you put that in there is because if Adirondack Foundation is the provider, suppose everything goes belly up. Any funds that were there, Adirondack Foundation then would be able to distribute, but they would distribute based on this. In other words, they'd be the default agency. That makes sense. I think the key thing, I think you have this piece of paper. The other provisions, I think are on the back are somewhat important that you should know. Other provisions, section D says this agreement is intended to promote community-wide fundraising efforts. No partner shall be required to share sensitive information. And so that just kind of keeps everybody happy, and you know, we want to move forward, and any partner can any partner can continue or expanding their independent fundraising efforts. So St. Agnes can continue to do what they want to do. This will move forward as a community fund. They work independently. They don't have to stop. You know, so we basically have two streams that I envision that of support. St. Agnes has got their faith-based people that want to donate to the cause, and we can then go and say, yeah, we want, if people are not happy, or I don't want to use that term, people that are less reluctant to do a faith-based kind of support faith-based and have an alternative. That's still not a good way to say it.
Well,
It gives two funds, a town-wide fund, widens the target audience, let's put it that way. So I did point out, we do have we have an exit strategy. I did talk, we do now, I talked to Adirondack Foundation, they gave some suggestions how to handle earmark donations. Say if somebody said, I'll buy a new stove, you know, they can do it through them, and there's a way to do that. That would be very positive. There's some things we have to work on in terms of governing. What we're looking for today, basically, is it seems like a good idea, move forward with it. We'd like that from you as part of your action items. You can't vote on this particularly, but you know, you may have to talk to your attorney, and what we get, I don't think you're getting any legal problems, but I'm not a lawyer, so you should probably do that. And I'm sure you would want language that really says that, look, we can get out of this at any time and it's not legally binding, but your attorney can give you that language. We're not gonna suggest that. I think you need to get that from your attorney. But what you can do today is say, yeah, that looks like a good idea, start moving forward. That would enable us to then start talking to 503Cs. What am I?
No, that's where you start.
Non-profit or, and get moving forward.
So, but then the timeline that's deemed to be critical is that it's more than just a verbal say, okay, there could be
The
a
timeline,
request.
the time for line for this is not as critical as for the next ask. So you could, because the next ask is gonna be for money. And if you want, you can give the money directly to St. Agnes. It'd be better, I would like to have this up and running. I think everybody would like to have this up and running before it started money, but right now we could just tell people to give money to St. Agnes.
Mhm.
They would have to be the administrators of the fund, and so, you know, it'd be, but if they got a big check to say $90,000 from the town, that's only one letter that's have to write, I'm sure they'd be happy to do that.
To me, it just makes more sense to have it as a dedicated fund at Adirondack Foundation, because for administrative reasons, for ask reasons.
Yes.
I think if you're, like, the same with Thrift and Thrive, like, because the ask was coming from, I think I said that backwards, you're rubbing off on me. That, it's different when it's coming from, you know, a foundation that represents the community as a whole, whether or not you have children, like, I think it's a different ask when it comes from the foundation.
I agree, we would prefer that, and we're looking into that, we would need a fiscal sponsor to do that. We need a 503C to be associated with
Much
us.
closer.
We need a nonprofit, guys,
So,
but,
so
and
what's
the
the
other,
next step to get to that?
once you guys say yes, then we approach the nonprofit and say, would you, if we get I gotta talk to the committee about that.
Okay.
But I think if they come through and say that the town can be the fiscal sponsor, I think it's a done deal myself. But if they say the town can't, then we start shopping around.
Listen,
I mean, the Watershed Association can do it, CYC can do it. You know,
Homestead Development.
Homestead Development can do it. I mean, really, it's part of housing, homestead development.
I wasn't being.
So, no, I'm not either. I don't think we're gonna have a trouble finding a fiscal sponsor. There's no exposure and you're doing a good thing. So why not?
So what do we need to do in addition to that in order to kind of meet the September 2025?
You're gonna have to give some money.
Okay, I feel like that's
That's the
a
next
critical
one.
sort of
Right.
component.
But we're looking, I have two asks today. I probably should have started out with that. That's a better educational technique. You know, one is say, yeah, well, you're moving in the right direction. So we can start searching for those nonprofit sponsors. And the other thing is St. Agnes not only is committed, they've already started to move. And I think it's because, so there's gonna be some money, so I'll get to the money asked in a moment.
Okay.
But is the structure pretty clear?
Yeah, my impression is there's 2 points you're looking for from the town, a commitment and some money.
Yes.
But you know, we're like a gerbil on that squirrel cage, we're starting to go around in circles now, let's cut to the chase.
All right, those are the two things. I wanted to know what you were committed to.
Yeah.
Do I have to add anything? So
Have
far,
you
so
thought
good.
about, can I ask just a quick question?
Sure.
In looking, and I might be jumping ahead, but you're looking at, or you've identified 22 slots
Yes.
that need to be filled for community needs, correct?
Well, it should fill a pretty good chunk of that community. We decided, if you go farther than that, it gets much more expensive. You're talking about 4 or 5 teachers for that. And so we, you know, to get exposed that far. Kate can speak to that better than I can. 22, that would be 2 toddler slots, 2 toddler rooms, each toddler room can have.
So
Go
a
ahead.
total of 22 slots, 1 infant room with 8 infants, 1 toddler room with 14 toddlers, so 22 would be the pilot program.
And the key is their staffing requirements. How much staffing? Kate?
Correct, so that would mean 2 staff for an infant room and 3 for a toddler room, so a total of 5 classroom staff. In addition to myself as the administrative director, to be sure the programs are in compliance with the Office of Children and Family Services licensure.
That's as far as we thought we should try.
And I know the answer to this, but I have to ask it. We will not be competing with private entities in our pricing, suggested pricing.
Well, I don't, maybe I went too far.
He wants to make sure you're not undercutting private business.
I think
So
that-
suddenly-
The existing daycare, we don't believe so.
No, this is
And we're not fulfilling the whole need either.
And I heard.
was the certifications and licensures that would be different than what would be.
Yes, there are 3 different types of licenses. You can be a family, group, or community.
Generally, it's like those home ones.
The
that
whole,
require
so you're not
licenses.
competing with those. The other thing, you know, there are programs coming. We're aware of that. We're aware of Hulk saying, we don't think we're gonna apply. From what I understand, it's gonna have to be a desert community to get the whole funding. And we're not a desert, is what the problem is. So, you know, but we do know that there are other streams under, and that's my way of getting back to the Adirondack Fund. They would be, keeping the fund there means Number one is they have an incredible finger on the community. Nobody knows donors like Callie Brooks. And so if someone comes to her and says, I'm interested in helping kids, she'll say, oh, go talk to, you know, and hopefully she'll point her out the direct. So that's one advantage. The other advantage is the Birth Through 3 initiative is there. And basically what they do is they don't give you monetary support, but they will help you find funding streams, avenues for support. And they will also link us to regional things. And that's what we get from having the money and having the fund with the Adirondack Foundation. So it's better, you know, again, I haven't talked to my committee about it, but it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. So let's talk, can we move to the money page?
Yes.
I think Derek would be very happy.
So there's two columns here, the left column and the right column. I think the left column, I'm gonna say, that's the startup money. And so if you look at that, the number is $184,000. It's gonna be $184,000 to start up, and the details are down below. A lot of it has to do with renovation. Pete, you wanna talk about a little bit about what you did? So you wanna sit up here? You wanna tell them a little bit about what you got going on in 30 seconds, how you know?
Sure, so we are currently underway with Connections at Licensure, understanding what renovations need to be made for our facility to be appropriate for infants and toddlers. Expansions such as additional bathrooms in classrooms, appropriate furnishings, appropriate emergency exits. So we've begun conversations with not only the OCFS office, but contractors understanding the financial obligation of getting those projects done and done in a timely manner.
And so that's where the numbers come from, basically. That's my view of moving on. And obviously the first year, there are some issues because there's no income, because there's no program. And so that whole $184,000 has got to come from somewhere. And you notice most of the people listed there, we have talked to or touched base with, Leaf, Lake Placid Education, the North Alba Child Care Committee, that's us. We're gonna go, they've talked to some St. Agnes school donors and started some money. But we basically need $184,000. The suggested donation from the town of North Alba is 50, and that's a number that's there just to give you some thought. Of course, if you wanted to say, look, we paid for half of it, then you could make it 90, and that would be a real statement. That's a possibility. Depends what statement you want to make.
I like your style, Dan.
I will just add that each funding is whatever you get from
It's
counts as town or
all right, well, yes and no, yes. And we're gonna start the application, those application processes will start, but the key to at least some and a substantial amount of money from you is that it helps with the grant writing. It helps with our donors in the community. If we can say the town board recognizes this, and they not only supported our efforts, but they put their money where their mouth was. I go back to, remember Darryl Strawberry, he was the straw that stirs the drink. You remember Darryl? And that's what you guys can be, so please consider that and make it substantial as you can. And I don't know what else to say about that, other than I tried to get a commitment from the Adirondack people. Can we do this? What do you think? And I wanted, oh, sure, no problem. And they said, we can't tell you for obvious reasons. And the best I could get them on is, it's certainly not crazy. So, and if we look at the success of the thrift store, I don't think it would be quite as successful as the thrift store, maybe the store community, who knows? But it's gonna depend on a lot on the count we get from the paper talking about the needs of funding.
I'm just gonna look back at Katie, and Catherine. I know Catherine, you're on the board now, you're not staff with St. Agnes, but what about a generous acts application? Like, can you do that on behalf of? And it would be from St. Agnes, but for this program?
Yes.
Yes, and that's coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah. February 9th.
One of the things we did was we went down to, there was Adirondack Foundation had a workshop in Saratoga. And we rode a magic school bus, thanks to Tim Seymour, and went down to Saratoga, and it was fun. It was fun in the car. The ice cream shop was great. Food was okay, but we had a day together to talk, and we talked to Adirondack Foundation people. We also talked to Hudson Headwaters. And they didn't just say no and run away. They actually suggested we get in touch with Jenner Tax. We talked to the Adirondack Foundation down there. We talked to other people that were applying for funds. And one of the things is the ADKFN safety net planning, and that out of that particular expedite. We'll see what happens there, but we're gonna apply for that one too. That was the day, but we did go down there for a day and talk to some. We have not talked to local employers. You know, I know Adirondack, I don't wanna get ahead of myself either in public. Thank you. Thanks for stopping me there. The right-hand side is also important. You know, it says year one overview, but it should say ongoing yearly. It's year one, it's year two, it's year three, it's year four, it's year five, it's year 10, it's year 20, other than inflationary changes. Because what you have now is a program, and it's really important to understand that what we want to do is keep the tuition the same. The kids we're taking on are really expensive. They're $6,000 to $8,000 more per kid per year than the 3 and 4 year olds. So you could do two things. You could raise the tuition of the one kids to kind of subsidize them. You could charge the new kids an exorbitant amount, or you could do what this budget does, is say, we're gonna keep the tuition the same, and we're gonna fill the gap any darn way we can. So the gap is based here, was it 30, 35, 30,000, 31,000, is based on the idea that the tuition stays the same. One thing I will say, and I hope the paper publishes this too, we found out that a lot of people are not taking advantage of the subsidies. You know, $80,000 for kids, you're eligible for a subsidy. And when we did the survey, we stole, was it Westport we stole it from? West? Yeah.
Willsboro? No,
Well, we stole it from some other town
yeah.
and we put it on the survey. All right, we'll see. Emily says Ticonderoga, I say Westport, we have a bet. We'll see. Emily's a former student.
Yeah.
What's really weird is Emily was a former student, she was right in school more than I was.
He knows what a 501(c)(3) is.
Yeah. But that's the key there, so that this fundraising, that's where the amount of an endowment and the thought of the fundraiser, it's the same thing as it's the thrift store model. You know, they're still in operation, they're still gonna raise money for the program cost. And that's where the 20 years comes in. If we get enough money, then you can spread the wealth and help every kid in North Elm.
Dean, here's how I think I'd like to appeal to the board. And I'd like it not to come off that it will be the entire, that the town will put into this, because there's a couple different avenues in play. But I think it would be very responsible on our part to commit to $50,000 tonight that would come from occupancy tax money. Okay, which means that we are supporting this project with money that doesn't come from the tax base. It comes from visitors to the area and lets us follow the mission statement that says it helps community and it helps visitors as well. Because every time a parent has good, solid daycare, they can work. And that's one of the number one things we found in the survey, can't get to work, they don't have childcare. Now, I'm not saying every birth to 3 parent will fall into that care, but across the board, it will.
That's very appropriate.
And secondly, $50,000 sends that message through the paper that says the town initiated this direction, they're stepping up now. And it will spark other people to say, you know what? This community is being responsible once again, like we were with the food pantry, and people are gonna raise their hand, which in effect will maybe mitigate a little bit whether Leaf decides to give 100,000 or only needs to give 60,000 more. I don't know. But I think the initial commitment of 50 is representative of our commitment to this movement.
And downstairs, I say, keep quiet because you won. I do have to add that there's a timing factor involved, so I know you probably can't act on it tonight, but maybe, you know, the quicker you can act on it, because they are starting up. And we would love to get this program, you know, construction going in time, so the program be up and running in September.
Listen, if Rick doesn't find a policy that holds me back, we can.
All right, I'll let you do what you need to do. So the two action items I was looking for was, yeah, go ahead and see if you can set up the structure, you know, it's not gonna be exactly, but we understand conceptually, move forward with the structure as presented and the money commitment, so I
So
don't know.
Dean, you're. Somebody is applying for a LEAF grant for this round.
Yes.
Anna Jenner's back.
All right.
Correct, he's correct.
So could
we
I said it, I wanted to-
agree to the 50,000 with the caveat
St.
that
Agnes that's applying?
we're seeking
It's
council's
approved.
advice.
Right.
Yes, that seems appropriate, very appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you wanna make that motion, Derek, and then what do you wanna second? You have started.
No. They're gonna do it.
I got it, yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Do we wanna make a motion on that?
It is
We
a
did.
motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I need a
Adrian.
second.
okay, what's that?
I need a second.
Well,
Second.
You don't want, yeah, definitely.
I don't need the fame of it.
She's famous enough, ladies and gentlemen.
Any further discussion? I do like the fact, Emily, that if the money needs to be funneled through Adirondack Foundation, that's an option. I don't-
I think it should be.
Yeah.
That may not be up and running in time.
No, but in the case of our being able to dispense money, so far, we've done numerous things
Yeah.
that, so I'm not worried about.
And I wanna make it clear and put it on the record that this, we're not seeking, just to be fair, it would be nice, but we're not seeking a line item everybody.
Right.
You, and the agreement says you can donate money as you deem appropriate. So that should be clear for the record, that, so everybody knows that that's the way we're moving forward. We appreciate, and of course, any help you can give, we appreciate, but it's not a line item.
That's right.
So you don't need a commitment. Since we sort of committed with. financial-
Morally and real are two different things, but yeah.
I have one more item for the record, which I appreciate whoever wrote this, maybe it's appreciating. That, I think I've been vocal to at least Dean about my concern about separation of church and state.
Sure.
And so I appreciate that you added that, so I was just gonna read it for the record, that the school's infant toddler program will operate with the same principles, reflecting back to pre-K four, universal pre-K four, of diversity, responsiveness, and responsibility, include no religious education or religious programs. So that's part of the narrative.
They are doing that now, and that's part of the requirement for them to keep the pre-K, UPK4, how about that?
But I also think it's heard that Emily mentions that, so that it's communicated to the greater public, that that's what we're doing.
Keep, yeah, it's a town-wide program we're establishing, town-wide. Am I done?
Do we need to vote?
Please.
We got the vote, we got a motion.
Yeah.
We need to vote on it.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Carried. So do you want to run that by Glenn?
Yeah. Well, why don't you roll back? Or Mark,
Okay,
or do you want me to?
let's just touch base in the morning about what exactly we're impacting.
And if you,
Because the way we've dispensed money so far hasn't needed, we have to say
I have
yes,
it down
that's
as
it.
my action.
So we're not
items for
running,
tomorrow.
I mean, we're just giving them the funds.
Thank
We're
you.
not running it through anybody, we're just giving them the funds. That's all.
We get your judge pen, I don't wanna get arrested for
I'll
stealing.
make up my six.
Yeah.
alright.
Oh, yeah.
You're the whole- You are.
Foundation, I'm not waiting for them.
So you're welcome, please. Yeah. Keep going, go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it
He wasn't listening.
didn't need to be separate.
Yeah, he was still focusing on talking about these three.
We're at the point of committee reports. Does anybody have anything?
Are you skipping over River Water? You
Uh,
don't need it if you want to.
No, that was.
Well, I think
Off the agenda.
That's
We'll
what
come
I'm
up with
doing.
Dan's thoughts.
it'll come when Dan
Okay.
talks to us.
Okay.
So no active committee reports, okay, budget adjustments.
All signed, sealed and delivered.
Kathy, do you wanna talk about any budget adjustment?
I emailed them all to you last week.
Yep,
Yeah,
Did you all see them?
we did.
yes.
I'm not gonna go through them unless you have questions.
No, I mean,
The bottom line is there's no effective fund balance for 2024. except for the sewer district. And for 2025's budget, I'm gonna use a little bit of the contingency fund that we had set aside in the general fund.
Okay. And our year-end report, how much longer do we have to put that together?
So the annual report that goes to the state is due on March 31st. We have 3 months to complete it.
Okay,
And I generally don't start doing it until middle of February because we have to wait that long to get our engineering and attorney invoices in for December of
Sure.
2024. Sometimes it takes that long.
okay. There were virtually no personnel actions.
I didn't feel it appropriate to send you guys personal
Right.
action for Jeremy because you already took care of Jeremy.
That's right.
And it's my understanding that anything else is going to be discussed in executive session.
That sounds good. All right, with that being said, I'll make a motion to accept both the budget adjustments and no personnel actions. Yeah, why don't we throw audits into this acceptance as well?
Yep.
Any comments on audits? None? So I'll take a motion to accept all three. Jason, seconded by Dick. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carried.
Derek,
I think we were gonna wait just a bit.
Did
Yeah,
you
go
skip
ahead, Kath.
did you skip over the ZBA vacancy that Darcy submitted for approval?
I added it to review and zoning board term renewals. I just combined it with something.
Oh, I didn't, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, we took care of it.
So he was, I keep forgetting his name, I'm sorry.
Tom Mason.
Tom Mason. I think it's Tom Gordon.
Yeah. Okay, we're at the part of the agenda for person's opportunity to speak. Fred?
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Thanks, Fred.
So I brought this up, I think at the December meeting. So, following up on that. As I assume everybody here knows, our congressional representative, Elise Stefanik, has been nominated by President-elect Trump to be the United Nations ambassador for the US. Assuming she's approved by the Senate, which I think most observers think she will be, she will need to resign her seat. And once she resigns, it triggers a very short process by which the governor calls a special election. And then the political parties will name their nominees. The way it's going to work is that the Democratic and Republican parties, the county chairs for the committees in all of the district, and I believe there's 15 in each, for each party, because there's 15 counties in the district. I think 12 are completely in the district and 3 are partially. They will select their nominee for those parties, and I spoke to somebody at the Working Families Party yesterday. I think they're gonna make their decision in Albany, so it's not even gonna be people in the district. And I assume it might be the same for the Conservative Party. Those are the other 2 parties that are on the ballot currently. So unfortunately, because of the compressed schedule in New York, the way New York State law has it set up, there will not be a primary. So part of my concern, and I've been talking to a number of groups, is that, I think other people share this concern, is rank and file voters will not have a say in the selection of nominees. And I think it's critically important to realize that the assumption being that it's probably going to be a Republican or a Democrat who's elected, they'll be selected by 15 people, and whoever is elected will be the incumbent. And as you know, it's very hard for incumbents to be defeated in later elections. So that choice is going to be somewhat critical. So I had sent the board a written proposal. This is just a suggested resolution. You know, if you wanted to consider something along these lines, I just put some wording in, but the idea is to call for a more open process. So basically to appeal to the 15 county chairs and the 2 major parties and whoever the decision makers are, the working families, conservative, other parties that might be involved, to open up the process. So basically, what the resolution calls for is to release the names of all the candidates, the prospective candidates who have approached the parties for the nomination. And their written materials, like I think the Democrats are asking for a letter and possibly a resume or a campaign plan. So make those public. And then reach out to rank and file voters for input on the candidates. In my view, I think it would not be that difficult for the parties to set up 1 or more Zoom meetings. You can do a webinar with Zoom where the attendees are, it's not interactive, so the attendees are off camera and are muted. They can communicate by chat and ask questions, but you can have up to 500 people in a webinar. And you can do it for like $95 for a month, and you can do multiple webinars, and you could have, you know, I think the Democrats, we were told last night by Maggie Bartley, North Elba Democratic meeting, that I think they've got 10 people they were considering, so you could even have 1 or more Zooms and have a subset. And that would give people a chance to see the candidates side by side and evaluate them, rather than have 15 people. So the other thing that's in there is, there was a bill before the New York State Assembly last year or recently, I'm not sure at the time, that would amend the special elections law to allow time for a primary. And it would be great for the town board to, at minimum, support that concept, because I think we're excluded, as voters, we're really excluded from this choice, and that's unfortunate. Even if you wanted to run as an independent, I think you have 12 days to circulate a petition, and there's a minimum 3,500 signatures needed, and the rule of thumb is always to try to get twice as many signatures, because if you're challenged, it's possible a lot of signatures get knocked off. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm happy to take questions or hear any comments if you care to discuss this.
I usually like to go first and get things rolling, but my brain is so fogged right now with thinking of 15 counties. Say they each have 10 candidates, and we have an unorganized resolution that you want the general public to be able to canvass 150 people and bring it into some kind of consensus that is outside of what we're used to do in a voting process. I can't even imagine it. And especially in the time slot that this is set up to do. And this would be contrary to our state law. Just try amending that state law to accommodate that idea. I agree with you that the voters being left out of there. That's why being involved in your local party committees is your way for a voice. But outside of that, I can't fathom this. I don't mean to downplay it, but this is huge beyond.
Could I respond or?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think there's gonna be anywhere approaching 150. I mean, we were told last night by the Democratic County Chair of Essex County that there are 10 people that have approached the chairs and have submitted materials. I think there were 3 other people that contacted the chairs in one way or another, but did not submit materials. So that's 10, and then there might be possibly more on the Republican side, maybe 12, according to Maggie. So I think it's a relatively small number. And yes, there is some logistical question about whether, you know, how you do a Zoom or have candidate forums, but you know, we've had presidential candidate debates with multiple candidates on the same stage. So you certainly wouldn't have to endorse the forum part of it, but even if you were to endorse looking at changing the law to allow for a primary going forward, that would be, I think, in the public interest. So that's really what I'm asking.
Right.
Matt, but as far as I'm all like, there has been some feedback as far as how Kamala Harris was selected when Joe Biden dropped out. And many attribute that as maybe one of the potential reasons why Kamala Harris lost, and transparency and openness in sort of election. I would certainly support you if you did some sort of ground roots sort of action as far as lobbying our state representatives to change that. That seems to be where we could put our real energy for real change. I like the idea of this. It just logistically, it would be more of just, hey, the town board supports it. I'm not sure how much that would catch fire, as opposed to organizing outside of the town board and lobbying our state representatives to enact that sort of change legislatively. Does that make sense?
No, it does, thank you. Just so you know, last night I presented this to the Saranac Lake Village Board. They meet every 2 weeks, so I actually asked them to, and this was the first I brought it up with them, so I asked them to consider voting on something. Supporting that concept in 2 weeks, which may still be, I mean, the election might be called, very soon after the inauguration, and I think the chairs, according to Maggie, the chairs are gonna move very quickly on selecting somebody. But yes, and I saw Billy Jones at the Adirondack Diversity Symposium, and I sort of gave him, just that open process idea. I do plan to write to everybody who's CC'd on the proposal that I sent you guys. So including, up the chain, so the county board of supervisors and our representatives at the state legislature and maybe even our US senators and governor. Because I do think it's important. Florida has got vacancies, they're having a primary. So we're being denied that. So that's my main concern. Just so you know, that I received an email yesterday that the New York State Green Party has endorsed the proposal that I sent you. I'm part of a group called NY21 Congress Watchdogs. We started in July. It's open to anybody of any ideology and party. It's a nonpartisan group, but our plan is to monitor whoever's our congressional representative, their voting record and actions and comment and public statements and comments, and we'll be reporting on that to the general public, so people know what our congressperson is going to be doing in office. So they've endorsed the proposal, and it's before other groups I'm involved with, and that I will reach out to. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to address this with you, and I understand if I understand your concerns, Derek. So.
I'm not out, like, again, if you said if there's some sort of network, either started or forming, communicate with me, I'm happy.
I will follow with you.
As far as
changing the law.
Changing the law.
Yeah, I will definitely follow up with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Dan, come on up.
Oh,
Got any copies?
well, you told me dry January was a good thing. So I did dry January. So I started reading my taxes. I found out that I've been paying a water bill and not receiving water. You've all heard the. So basically, all I was just wondering is, at some point in time, are we going to bring water to my property and the property next door? And in what time frame do you think this will happen? Since I realize the taxes have been being paid since somebody says the late '60s, early '70s. So it's given the board, and I know it wasn't you guys back then.
2 hours.
Thank you, Dan. I've plenty of time to bring water to my little desert garden center. We're trying to grow flowers for women.
This is what I gave, I have a comment on, we've had a lot of conversation on this.
Please.
A lot of conversation on this with the board and Brad and the probability and the barriers to bringing water to your side of the pond, so to speak, and there's other properties as well. So there's several irons in the fire, so to speak, of how we can resolve this, whether it's through redistricting or whether it's through getting you water. That's yet to be seen. We're working closely with our council to see what is the best to have it take. So, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
I have no problem. I just was reading my taxes first time in 20 years. What the hell was I thinking? When they brought the water to the golf course, At that point in time, I was told that basically there was no way between the river and the highway of ever getting water to me. And I just dropped it, okay, fine, whatever, not a big deal, I spent $35,000 on a well, fracking, all that BS. And, you know, so if there is a chance of bringing water, great, and if not, I would be more than happy to get my $200 back. And if I can get it back from before I own my property, would you guys?
If we had a legal way to do it, I'd do it for you tomorrow.
Yeah. And Derek has actually explored it, so.
Yeah.
I thought that would be the easiest, the simple, and the cheapest way for the town.
No, it's like Rich said, we've had numerous individual, you know, conversations, board conversations, everything. It's, yeah.
And I'm praying for February to get here quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somehow, no, maybe I'll try it next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dry January is a good thing for me, not for you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Anyone else of the public like to address the board? Grace, you must have a list.
Most of my stuff is for the childcare folks.
Well, you got the experts right here.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at my list, I think, or my
all right.
notes to see what I'm confused about, but.
Do you wanna get contact info from
Yeah, and I
any of these?
And I would say that Katie is probably your contact.
Yeah.
You have mine, right?
Yeah, I think I usually call you at the school.
No, that's fine.
So
Okay.
I just have to call you early enough in the
That's
day.
okay.
All right,
Are we sure? Oh, no, we're not done. I was like, no.
are we in need of an executive
Yes.
session? Okay, I'll take a motion to go into executive session by Rick and Dick.
I feel like this is some 70s variety, you know?
At 7:11.
Yeah, so that.
All right, you're gonna shut that one down and log into the next one. You want me to do it for you?
Do we have to log in?
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you. I understood why.
That's part of it here.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna-
Okay. Make sure I don't leave like you.
Yeah.
She's not bad for me, or like,
Okay.
overstate people if.
Yeah,
That's okay,
that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll check, maybe she checked out.
Thank you.
She realized she probably had to
Yeah.
back in.
Well, this is the public one, so anyone.